military, the United States is known for its power and it's for its technology advancement. Now, with this military, we have 6,000 different types of armored tanks. We have 20 aircraft carriers and well over 2,000 fighter aircrafts. Now, with this type of military comes a really big budget, and it was at $600 billion in 2015, according to the global firepower count. Now, Donald Trump, according to the White House, wants to raise it to $700 billion. Now, I believe that this budget is already kind of high, and if it would be raised even higher, I think it's kind of ridiculous, almost. I feel like the money, it's kind of unnecessary, and the money can go somewhere else, like our education, our science research, and our infrastructure. So, my first main point is why it's too high. In 2015, our national budget was at $1.1 trillion, according to the World Bank Group. Now, that could account for our education, our welfare, our people, food, and our infrastructure, a lot more other things. The military spent a little more than 50% of that budget for its military uses. Now, that's $600 billion, that's higher than the next 7 countries combined. That includes China, Saudi Arabia, United Kingdom, and even Russia. Now, China does have the biggest army, but they've only spent $146 billion, according to the World Bank Group. Now, their army isn't as great as ours, but they don't deem it as necessary. They have 7 million soldiers compared to our 3 million, yet we use almost triple the amount. Now, my next main point is why it's unnecessary. So, from our geological standpoint, it's kind of unlikely that we will be invaded, since from both borders we have Canada, which is our ally, and Mexico, which is they're very unlikely to invade us. From our west side we have the Pacific, and from our east side we have the Atlantic Ocean, which will make it difficult for any country to try to invade us. And if they would try, we have many citizens with the Second Amendment who own their own weapons to protect themselves. Now, another reason is because we're already kind of $1 trillion in debt, and using more money will just increase the debt ceiling, which can increase taxes. And I know not that many people will be very happy about their taxes being increased, especially since it recently has been increased, I believe so. Now, here's a little fun fact. According to the Military Times, the Department of Defense has reportedly spent $41.6 million on Viagra, and an extra $40 million on related type of medication. Now, I don't know why, or how, but I guess you can say that we are the hardest fighting country in the world. Now, in the Middle East, we spent trillions of dollars, which we did accomplish a few things, but it's kind of an unnecessary amount of money we use to accomplish just a few goals. So where should the money go? I believe the money should be spent on education. If education is going to be made mandatory from K to 12, then we should definitely fund it, and it should be just as important as our education. As our military spending. One of the main things people say is that using more money on education wouldn't make a difference if it has no correlation with the more spending makes high grades. Well, in fact, that's proven as wrong, because according to Kevin Carey from the New York Times, they found a study where they have found consistent patterns in compatible timeframes, where they found for schools from low-income areas would be funded more by the state. Their grades and academic would improve by a lot compared to schools that did not receive as much funding. This is funding from the state, but not from the federal. Now, the funding can be used to buy textbooks. I know when I was in high school, a lot of textbooks would be really out of date, and I think that can kind of distort your kind of learning, because you would open up a history textbook and you would see the president from 2 terms ago signing off a bill or in some type of scandal with Monica Lewinsky. We should have current up-to-date textbooks. At least they shouldn't be decades old. Now, we could have better student-to-class ratios as well. In some, I know this is not the case where we have too many students per teacher, but in some overpopulated areas, there are times where there's too many students for one teacher. This could be bad for your students' learning. If we had more teachers per students, we could be more one-on-one and focus on students more. I know when I was in high school, I had an American government class during the summer. We had 50 students in one classroom. It would be distracting. Everybody would be talking at once. It would be hard to focus with so many students. Now, we could also, there's our teachers that are currently on strike because they want higher pay. We could accommodate that with more spending there. There's a lot of things we can do with education. I think we're not also the greatest when it comes to education compared to other countries. According to Ranking America, we are ranked 14th in cognitive skills and learning education attainment. Education attainment is just basically how far our education goes. which is whether that is getting a degree in a diploma in high school, graduating college, or master's, and even farther to get a doctorate. So we're ranked 14th in that type of area. We're also ranked 24th in literacy. That's reading and writing. That's pretty much English classes. Even though we are required to be learning English from K through 12, all the way even up to college, we still don't compare that well to other countries. We also rank number 8 in expenditure, which is our funding in students. Sweden, Norway, and Korea, they've always more money per student than we do, and they're doing way better on their test scores than we are. We're also ranked 2nd in ignorance. Now that's just a general statement that has a little to do with education, but we can do better with that, especially since we're ranked number 2nd in ignorance, yet ranked number 1 Army, ranked number 1 military. Now, we can also fund science as well. Science is very important for our country's development. We could do better. We can improve our lives. We can develop new technology, fund different types of research for cancer. We could create new jobs that way. We could also come up with better medicines and find new vaccines. This would all overall make us smarter in America, I believe, helping our country out more. We should send rockets to space, not to another country, but that's certainly not the case. Definitely we can do better in science. We can also fund our infrastructure as well, build affordable housing. We can, in some cases, people can't afford houses for a while now. It's probably going to stay that way. By building cheaper, affordable houses for lower income people, we can accommodate that. We can also help with construction and road work, which one of the main reasons why it takes so long to finish off road work is for economical reasons. One lane of road for 1 mile can cost $3 million just to get started. That might be because they're clearing houses up. And especially like that, in the 5 freeway, they've been taking so long. That also might be due to economical reasons. And they're not supposed to finish for another 3 years, until 2021. Now, I'm not saying that we should strip our military spending or even cut it in half. I think if we direct a couple $2 billion to somewhere else, we can improve our country, not just military-wise, but as we are as a whole, we should spend money within our country. This way we could improve our lives and be smarter as well. Thank you for listening.
Ashley, what did you think? Well, damn, that makes it easy. Okay. The reference to the military power at the beginning is fine. I do think you need to show that there are not as much need for the military spending as you're suggesting. I mean, your main argument is that we're unlikely to be invaded, and I don't think that that is really the issue when it comes to military spending. There are the ability to function on different fronts, the things that the military does outside of the context of defending us against invasion, I think is probably what takes up so much money. And so I do appreciate the idea that you're trying to diminish it. What you need to do is show that there isn't as significant a threat, or that the resources that we have are sufficient to address threats around the world and carry out our military policies that are also aligned with political policies as well. So I think you need to do a little bit more to diminish the significance of the military spending. You do have one example where you're talking about waste. I thought that was a little humorous, and I think people, well, I appreciated the humor anyway, so, you know, it wasn't hard to figure out what was going on there. All right. The rest of the speech is just kind of a generic argument for more spending on everything, you know, and so we've got education and housing and science, and it just feels like it's, you know, shooting at a variety of targets without necessarily having a focus on any one of them. The idea that there's inadequate spending on education could be developed a little bit more. Your examples primarily have to do with the age of the textbooks that you had when you were in high school and the size of the one summer class that you had. I'm not sure how generalizable it is. You did have some information talking about how the U.S. measures up to other countries. The idea that increased performance result from increased spending. You did have a little bit of an argument about that. So I thought that that was the best part of your argument when you were focusing on that. Everything else just feels like it's being thrown in as an additional thing because it doesn't get the same kind of development. So if you could make the argument more about how reduced spending on the military would allow us to fix problems with education, that I think would be a lot more targeted and work more effectively. You can leave the other stuff out of it and then focus on that particular issue. And then argue why, like I said, I think you need a little bit stronger argument that says that the military budget is bloated, that we are spending more than we need to accomplish our goals, and then talk about how that how big a difference would that $100 billion make. If you think the military is a black hole, wait till you put it into education, because that's a black hole too. Both of them will suck up that money instantaneously, and what we'll get out of it, it'll be interesting. I don't know that we can measure it, so, but what you want to do is argue that we can measure it and we can see those sorts of things. And we had only just a little bit of that. Okay, thank you.